So I'm all excited because I've been encouraged and inspired by a young man that is very effective at gathering the best and the brightest, much like we do here with our regular jazz performers. Mr. Ian Schwarber pulls together a talented group of individuals and thinkers, innovators, and entrepreneurs. So that's what we're doing. We're sharing big ideas. We're rubbing shoulders with the best and the brightest. We bring to the talent, the stage here, the talent that really is moving and driving and inspiring a whole new creative force in the community and beyond. So I want to introduce Mr. Ian Schwarber and welcome him and all of you. So thanks for coming, Ian.
Thank you, my friend.
Keep it up, brother.
Thank you. Yep. Now that was a very different introduction than we're used to with Tony. Usually we get the flute. I don't know where the flute is. So in the absence, I do want to say that Tony is a very accomplished flautist. So let's all look forward to that next time. I thank you all for being here. This is a wonderful night where we're bringing together some very accomplished Akron entrepreneurs and business pioneers that have taken business ideas, business concepts, and really broken new ground into vertical markets, into new adjacent areas to where they might otherwise not explore, and actually starting new opportunities in our region that are different than what are going on in other places. It really is true. Northeast Ohio, in the two places these gentlemen who are our guests will speak about, are actually on the cutting edge of their respective markets. The Excel Center finds that to be worth taking some time to notice because the Excel Center at the University of Akron, which actually stands for the Experiential Learning Center for Entrepreneurship and Civic Engagement, really does want to be the harbinger of new opportunities and new experiences at our university for our students to complement the theoretical training that they're getting in the classroom. There's nothing like a classroom experience. There really isn't. And Dr. Carolyn Berman, who I know is here somewhere, is the Excel Faculty Collaborations Director. She's a wonderful woman. Let's put our hands together for that young lady right now. She does more for the Excel Center than any one person could because she actually brings together our academic experience and she brings it to light and she gives it meaning, which is part of our new Accelerate fellowships that are available right now for any student in here that wants to do an internship that doesn't actually involve doing academic credit. It's more for the experience in your personal venture, in your personal pursuit with community engagement. But ultimately, the reason that we are here tonight is to have a community outreach event so that we can spread the word about the Excel Center and what we aim to do for our students. The one big thing that I have been thinking about recently, probably because of a training that I've been doing today that we're calling Excel Center Spring Training, is that we need to acknowledge and highlight the best practices of those that are doing this kind of work. And by this kind of work, I mean experiential learning. I mean entrepreneurship. I mean academic civic engagement. I mean breaking new ground. I mean actually caring about our community, caring about our society, and making a difference with your lives versus just chasing the almighty dollar and trying to make sure that when it's all said and done, you've got the most in your bank account and you're the richest man. It really isn't about that. It's about being wealthy in spirit. And we've been focusing on acknowledging people that are doing great work and are actually solving problems. And in that sense, our Excel Center couldn't be better led by a gentleman who I've actually come to know as a good friend and as a leader and as a visionary of how you should actually operate an academic center. When Mr. Jeff Hoffman came to the University of Akron to build the Excel Center with me, what he didn't do was operate in the normal fashion, which was identify resources, identify assets, and then go to work telling people what they need to do with this new platform that was built for them and is now part of their regime. Instead, what he did was go on a listening tour and ask everybody what it is that they thought was important, what it is that they actually hadn't had the opportunity to do that was important, and what it is they wished in a perfect world they could do that would be the most important to their students. Jeff did that, and Jeff did that with me, and Jeff gave me the freedom to build the type of culture and society with the Excel Center that we thought actually would make these faculty and students and community members as happy as they could possibly be in the work that they were there to do. And so I guess I haven't talked that much about the fact that this man founded Priceline.com with a few other people, and that he led Ubid.com and RedTag and CTI and all these other companies. But I think I would say that as I introduce Jeff this month, Jeff is a academic pioneer that's broken new ground in the way that he leads an academic center. And so I'm very, very happy to introduce my friend who had no experience in this realm before doing this, but has achieved success anyway. My very good friend, Mr. Jeff Hoffman.
So tonight's topic, actually before I start, I got to say that I got the chance in the last couple of weeks to spread some good Akron love. I got I got the honor of ringing the bell at the London Stock Exchange. So we had a pretty good media platform. I went up there to do that at the London Stock Exchange. So luckily they said, what are you working on now? And I got to talk about everything we in this room are doing here for Akron, which was great. And then I did an event after that in Manchester, England that Steve Wozniak and I did. And because Wozniak came, for those of you who don't know, he's the other half of Apple with Steve Jobs. Wozniak and I went to do this event, but because he was in England, thousands of people came and more media came. So when I took the stage, I got another chance with all the media to talk about the great things going on in Akron. So just wanted to tell all of our friends and family here that we got a chance to represent our town on some big stages recently, and we were proud of everything all of us in this room are doing here. So our topic today is about breaking new ground. And I'm going to take, for my opening before we bring our guests up, they're going to talk about breaking more new ground with their businesses. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more personally and sort of start with part of breaking new ground is recognizing that the ground you're standing on isn't the ground you should be on. And let me explain that. People that break new ground in their lives, that make those changes, that only happens when they, again, discover that the ground I'm on is probably not the ground for me. So I'm going to back up and tell you a story to explain sort of what it takes to break new ground and why maybe somebody in this room, at least somebody, should consider it. So I'm not a car guy, but years ago I bought a sports car, and I was driving the car one day, and the car was extremely loud. And I was on the highway at 5 a.m. on purpose so I could drive fast. And I started going faster, and the car was still extremely loud. And I hit 130 miles an hour. I ultimately drove faster than that. I went to 170, which I'm afraid to admit. But when I got to 130 miles an hour, the really loud car went completely silent. So I thought I killed it. Something happened. I shouldn't have driven it that fast. It's dead. It went from loud to silent at 130. So when I got back, I called the dealer. I called the place I bought the car. And I said I was driving the car, and it was really loud. And when I hit 130 miles an hour, it went dead silent. And he said, that's right, because it hit resonant frequency. I said, what does that mean? I'm an engineer by trade. He said, we designed the car to go 130. The reason it was silent is because it was at its perfect moment. It wants to go 130 miles an hour. Every cylinder, everything in that car was at its perfect place right then. And I thought about that. So now I'm going to cut to later as an entrepreneur. I had built a company, and in the company we'd built a culture, and around the culture we had sort of built it around our lives. So we had a startup, but one of the things that I did in the startup was I asked all the employees to take out a sheet of paper and write down everything you ever hated about any job you ever had, anything anyone ever said or did to you that made you feel bad. And then on the other side of the paper, I had them write the opposite. Anything that you ever did, anybody ever did to you at any company that made you feel valued, important, and want to come to work. And then I passed out thumbtacks, and I told everyone that's the new employee manual. If you do anything on the left side of the page, you're fired, because you just told us you don't like being treated that way. And if I don't catch you doing things on the right side of the page to other people, that's our whole mantra. So we had built a company around the way we wanted to be treated and the way we wanted to live, and what makes people feel valued and what makes them feel devalued, and it was going really, really well. People came in. One day I look up and there's these guys in suits, mergers and acquisitions people. I didn't even know what the term M&A meant. at the time. And they're all standing there, and they're all in suits that cost more than like all the clothes I have ever worn combined. And I said, we're going to help you guys with. And they said, we want to buy your company. And I said, no thanks. They said, what do you mean, no thanks? We came here with, a bucket of money, basically. I said, don't want to sell it. And they said, why not? And I said, you won't understand this. And they said, what? And I said, I don't want to sell my company because I'm at resonant frequency. And they said, what does that mean? And I said, every part of my life is the way I would have designed it right now. I love my weekends. I love my week. I love the people I work with. I think the work we do creates value. We happen to be getting paid very well for it, which isn't even what I care about. I said every cylinder in my engine, every part of my life is working the way I couldn't design it better. I said, don't touch it. Go away. And I said, I want to remain at resonant frequency. I want to get up every day and say, every part of my life right now is actually working. I never felt that way before until somebody tried to touch it and take it away from me to buy it. So I started thinking about that. And I started thinking about how did I get to this ground, right? Our thing is breaking new ground. What is different about my life right now at that moment where I love every part of my life and I don't want anybody to change anything? And I've never felt that way before. And I came up with kind of a theory for that, for everyone in this room, for all of us finding our resonant frequency. And the theory is something we made this up, by the way, this term doesn't really mean anything. We just call it golden purpose. It's finding your golden purpose in life. And I'll tell you what I think it consists of. When you are at your golden purpose, you are at a moment where you wake up in the morning and you say, oh my God, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be in the world. There's no place else I'd rather be. I found my spot. I found my new ground. And the golden purpose, that's that moment when you know you're where you're supposed to be. So we started thinking about it, and I started kind of trying to reverse engineer that, being an engineer, and discovered that it seems to be three things. It seems to be in your life, and I want you all to think about this, because if you're not at your resonant frequency and you're not standing on the right ground for you, this might be why. The first thing is you are trying, again, I'm sorry to use the engineering terms, but it's how I think. You are trying to triangulate three things. The first thing is when you're in that moment on the right ground, are you doing what is the thing? In fact, here's what I challenge you to write down. What you're looking for. One, what is the thing you love doing most in the whole world? When in your day, in your week, in your month, when are the moments that you are at your happiest? And I'm going to give you a real example in a minute, then we'll bring our guests up here. So think about that. What is the thing you love doing your most? You might have a day that if you took the whole day that from the time you wake up to you go to sleep, looked through your whole day, thought back through it, and drew a circle around the moments in your day you were happiest, most lit up, most energized. And write that down. What is that thing you most love doing? The second thing to write down is what is the thing you're best at? Because there are a lot of people, here's what you're trying to get. You're trying to find the moment in life where those are the same. When you are doing the thing that you love doing the most, and it happens to be the thing you're best at, and I'll just tell you the third part. If those two things are something the world values. So golden purpose is trying to get to a place where you're doing the thing you love most, it's the thing you're best at in the world, and it's something the world values. That way you build a life and career around that. So let me tell you, and I'm going to give you guys a homework assignment. I'll tell you a story. So I spend a lot of my time, my mission in life now is mentoring, and one of the things that I hope is that someday someday at my funeral, somebody will say, that guy helped me find my resonant frequency. I actually redesigned my life, so I'm in the place I know. When you wake up and say, this is exactly where I was born to be. I'm doing exactly what I was created to do. That's what you're trying to find. So I'm going to tell you a story. I spend my time mentoring people a lot, and I was mentoring a girl named Annette. And Annette got an accounting degree, and Annette got an accounting job. And Annette had a good accounting job. Nothing wrong with that, right, guys? This isn't a right or wrong thing. It's a DNA thing. But Annette wanted just to check in with me. We were going to get lunch. And so we went and we sat down. And Annette decided, I said, hey, how's work going? She said, fine. I said, how's the accounting company? Fine. How's the job? Fine. And I said, well, tell me about it. And she said, well, you know what? Let's order and not get interrupted by the food. So we'll talk about my job after the food comes. Let's just chat now. Small talk. I said, great, what's going on? And she said, oh my God, Jeff, I got to tell you what happened last night. Okay, total change of voice and tone. And I said, what? And she said, these two friends of mine have been having this fight. They both swore they'd never speak to each other again. They haven't spoken in weeks, and everybody thought that relationship is over. So I met with both of them. I went back and forth between the two houses. She said when I was done, she said they were hugging and kissing and swore they'd never leave each other again. And she had this huge grin, and she was all electrified. And I looked at her and said, too bad you don't feel that way about your job. And she said, well, that's not my job. That's just something I like doing. And I said, and she said, like, for example, she said, a couple weeks ago, my mom and my sister had this fight. And she said, and I got both of them in 2 different rooms, and I listened to both sides, and I went back and forth, and by the time I was done, we were on a sister's trip on the weekend because my mom and my sister couldn't wait to spend time to each other. And she was so electrified, and she was so excited about this. And I said, right, but you do that when it comes up. You spend 50 hours a week doing accounting. And she said, whatever, that's my job. I have to do that. And I started thinking what I just told you guys. Is this person standing on her proper ground? Right? Is her resonant frequency? Is she feeling the way that I felt the day I said, don't touch my life, it's perfect right now. Nothing's ever really perfect, but it's as good as I could ever imagine it. So I'll tell you what I told her to do, that I'm gonna challenge you guys to do. When people that have done this have reported back to me with amazing results. I said, I just want you to do me a favor. She said, what? And I said, I want you to ask 10 people that you know, 10 people that know you well, to tell you the one thing, guys, the one thing in the world that you do best. So here's what I'll challenge you guys to do. And I hope someone in here will do it. Text 10 people you know and ask the same question. Say, what is the one thing in the world you think I'm best at? And you know what happens? 8 out of 10 of them, at least, pick the one thing. And most of the time I've done this, it is not the thing you're doing all day. So guess what happened? We sat there, and I said, Annette, do me a favor. I want you to text 10 people and ask them what you're great at. What is the one thing you're best at in life? And guess what it turned out to be? Not one person said accounting. I said, not one of your friends thinks you're the world's leading accountant. She said, okay, what did they say? And I said, every single one of them said, when you have an argument, you go to Annette. And 3 or 4 of them said, behind her back, we call her the argument girl. Annette's the one that can resolve anything. And I said, Annette, when are you most lit up? If I made you go through your whole day, what part of your day made you feel the best, excited you? She said, none of it happened at my accounting job. It happened when I got home and I resolved that argument between my sisters and my mother, right? 10 out of 10 people said, your best skill, the thing you are best at in the world, is resolving differences between people. So I'm going to tell you what happened. Our theme tonight is moving to new ground and breaking new ground. Annette, I'm going to just cut to the chase here, the punchline. Annette quit her accounting job. Annette started a company. The company was originally called The Argument Girl. Annette started a dispute resolution company. Today, Annette makes roughly 20 times the amount of money she made at her job, and she doesn't even care about money. You know what she does all day long? Every day she calls me, and I have to say, Annette, I got work to do. She said, oh my God, Jeff, you got to hear what happened today. Annette resolved disputes for boards and CEOs. She's resolved disputes for mayors and city councils. She's resolved family and marital disputes and relationship disputes. All day long, she does that thing that she gets the most excited about every single day. She found her golden purpose. She found the intersection of what you love doing, what you're good at doing, and something everybody else values. So that's my challenge to you guys in breaking new ground, is to ask yourself that question. Is the ground you're standing on the ground you should be on? Is there something else in the world where if you stood on that ground, you'd look around and say, I found it, resonant frequency? Would you say every single day, everything I did all day, and it's never everything, but the whole day is exciting. Her whole day is exciting because she spends all her time resolving disputes for people. So I'm going to leave you with that. Ask 10 people that know you to tell you the thing they think you are best at and the thing you should be doing. But then I'm going to ask you to do something else. Listen to that. Okay? Listen to that. If everybody that knows you thinks you're the argument girl and every day you slug through an accounting job, it might be time to break new ground. It might be time to actually launch a dispute resolution company and become the argument girl if that's your true source of resonance. So with that, we're going to bring up our guests, and we're going to talk about breaking new ground and people that moved into areas that were new to them and how that went for them. Thank you guys very much for listening.